On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we talk about Drif by Heilung. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
We're two professional broadcasters. We like metal and we like to talk about it. And today we are getting into March, into non-metal territory. And there's an album that both of us kind of missed the window for when it came out last year.
Yeah.
By a band that we both have talked about before and enjoy quite a bit. Heilung, a band from just Northern Europe.
They're from all over the place up there.
Yeah, members of the band from different countries. I think for the primary band, the
Germany,
primary three, it's Faust. I think is not. I think Faust is his last name.
Right.
He's from Germany. The other two are from Norway. I think.
Okay.
Maria and Christian. I can't remember. That might have been. I don't remember. I would have done some research and written some things down, but also we just got done playing Dungeons and Dragons.
We did for the last 3 hours, and we didn't really take a break between that and this.
Yeah, because you were ill earlier this week.
I was Wednesday. I woke up and I had let's just say I don't know why there wasn't a vacuum in the middle of me.
Oh,
yeah, because things were if there was an opening. Stuff was squirting out at
nasty.
Yeah.
The members of the band, by the way, is Kai, Uwe, Faust, Christopher Jewell, and Maria Franz.
Gotcha.
But anyway, we'll talk more about the band later. But
sure.
Yeah. And then Thursday, you were busy.
Thursday I was busy because I had a child who was doing Shakespeare.
Yes.
But it was a modernized version of Shakespeare, and it was really good.
I think that's probably the best thing for kids to be doing with Shakespeare.
Yeah. They didn't change the words.
Oh, really?
No, yeah, they kept the same the language. Although sometimes they would improvise a little bit of a got that right, some things like that.
a little
Stay
bit
cool,
of
buddy.
snark.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but for the most part, but it was set in a manner to where like a modern kid like now could look up, and even if you don't really understand the language used by Shakespeare, you could tell by what's happening on the stage,
the context.
Yeah, I get that now. Yeah, so it was really good.
Yeah, because I've always found Shakespeare to be a bit impenetrable, just because I mean, it's I think no matter who you are, like you said, there's still something about watching it where even the densest as it gets, you still understand what's happening.
Right.
But like I remember I watched a video. There's a joke in I think it might be in it's either in Hamlet or Macbeth. There's a joke in there that does not work in modern English.
Oh yeah. I think you might be talking about it might be in Othello. I think you're talking about
it's a joke
hours and hours.
Yeah, because that's how whore was pronounced.
Right.
Oars and oars. Yeah, oars and oars. And that like people kind of don't realize how crass a lot of Shakespeare is and was.
It was bawdy.
Because it was popular entertainment at the time. It was wildly popular.
Right.
And a large portion of his audience were, common people, the groundlings, as they were called, that took up the standing room in the Globe and various other theaters that that it was performed in. But yeah, like people don't kind of realize how, and like I didn't understand that either. How crass Shakespeare could get, because you don't have that context of like the words are all the same. It's recent enough English.
It is modern English.
Yeah, to where it is linguistically considered modern English, but the pronunciation of a lot of words has changed so significantly,
and some of the meanings
as well. Yeah, it's not like listening to if it Old English is incomprehensible to modern English speakers.
Right. Even Middle English is weird.
Yeah, Middle English is, because that's when you start getting French influence because of the Normans, where it's just hard to make anything out. I remember I watched a video of this this guy speaking in like Old English, and it's like, got a couple of that. I got a couple words that like you can pick up a couple of things that still sound the same, but it's on the same level of, I can understand a couple of words in German or Spanish or things like that, because elements of those languages have the same foundational sort of roots as ours does. So it's like, yeah, it's weird.
Or those elements made their way into our language. Yeah. That happens a lot.
Either or, any sort of situation. But yeah, we never attempted, when I was in theater, we never attempted any sort of any Shakespeare.
So I used to do it every summer.
How was that for you?
Oh, great. I mean, you just, I think I've told you the story before, though, that, whoever was directing, they would say, please, this is Shakespeare. The words, the rhythm, everything about this is
important. It's very important.
Important to be preserved. And so please know your lines exactly, no improvising. And they would inevitably dart their eyes to me because, yeah. Yeah,
because were you the one that would do that?
I'm the one who would improvise, because I would actually I actually found ways to do it, and then at the rap party or whatever, my friend Terry, who directed the show, says, "Thank you for everybody and participating with Tale of a Taming of the Shrew by William Shakespeare and O.J. fucking Bennett."
Adding, seeing if he can improve on the bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to have a little bit of fun with it.
You do, and it was always fun.
Yeah.
In fact, was it Taming of the Shrew? Me and my buddy Jesse, actually, it was encouraged by the director. He says, you guys are supposed to be drunkards through this entire show. And Jesse, you're like, do you want us to actually be drunkards for this entire? Because we can do that
if you can remember your lines.
Yeah, and in fact, it kind of got to the point we rehearsed it so many times that we actually couldn't remember our lines without about a good snort of sherry. You know what I mean?
It's the
state memory.
Yeah, state memory.
Kind of where we were.
You needed to be drunk for it.
Yeah.
Now I'm just thinking of Beer Fest. Yeah. That whole scene in Beer Fest where they all have to get absolutely shit-faced on Goldschlager to remember how to get to the Beer Fest competition. But I don't think I've ever tasted Goldschlager.
Really?
It just I'm trying to remember what class of alcohol it technically is.
It's a schnapps. It's a minty schnapps, and it has flakes of gold in it.
Yeah, which that just seems weird to me to have bits of this inedible material in this thing that you're supposed to drink. I mean, it's gold. It's not going to do anything to you. It's just a little bit of. Is it actually gold foil?
It is. It's tiny amounts of gold foil.
Tiny amounts of actual gold foil. Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess you probably would want it. You wouldn't want it to be something else that looks like gold foil, because gold is non-toxic.
Right. Have you ever tried Ledschlager?
No, but the Romans loved it. That's what they called it when they put it in their wine. They were like, this. I started doing a German accent.
Right? Yeah, you did there for a moment.
Because I was going to say this is as the Germanians do it. They call it Goldschlager. We don't know what it means, but. The Germanians told us to put lead in our wine. I'm sure that wasn't a deliberate attempt to poison us.
Not at all.
That is wild to me, though, that people did that in history.
What, that they would actually consume lead?
Yeah, that they would actively put lead into their wine. I don't know in what form and how they would do it, but apparently it's a sweetener.
Yeah, it is kind of sweet if you tasted lead. And of course, their flatware was often lead.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why they thought tomatoes were poisonous for so long.
Really?
Yeah, they thought
because they would eat it off of.
They would eat it off of their plates, and tomatoes are very acidic. And what they would do is they would leach the lead out, and then you ate tomatoes, and now suddenly you're dead because
and you had a period of insanity before you died.
Yeah,
yeah. It is crazy to me that it took people so goddamn long to recognize the clear and obvious danger that it poses to the human body.
I think lead might be poisonous.
You know, it might be bad. And the fact that like there had to be a massive protracted legal battle about like, maybe we shouldn't be putting this in our gasoline and therefore into our air.
Right. Right. And several like very rich people had to die to make it happen.
Yeah.
To actually put lead in there.
Yes.
Because, there was a guy who was owner of it was an ethyl company. Mm-hmm. He's like, I can eat all the lead I want. See, it's safe to put lead in the gasoline because that's what would stop the engines from knocking is the lead in there. And then, of course, he eventually fucking poisoned himself to death because...
Well, and like
lead.
The oil companies, this is all based off of an episode of Cosmos that I watched years ago.
Yeah.
But like oil companies they paid a medical doctor to tell Congress that it's perfectly fine and healthy and there's nothing wrong with it. And the guy who is like the biggest campaigner against it is the guy who discovered the age of the Earth. The scientist who first estimated the Earth to be 6 billion years or 4.5 billion
years old. Yeah.
I got it confused with the creationist 6,000
6,000, right?
But the first guy to have estimated the age of the Earth at 4.5 billion years, and the reason that he discovered it, and the reason that the lead thing became relevant to him is because when he was trying to carbon date the rocks, which relies on uranium decaying into lead, he needed to create a clean...
That's not carbon dating then. That's
not carbon date, but radiocarbon.
Radiometric dating, yeah.
When he was doing that and, looking for trace amounts of lead in these incredibly old rocks that he had, he needed to be in an environment that was completely and totally free of all traces of lead, and he could not find one. And he started going, why the fuck is there so much lead everywhere? And a big portion of that is because we were using leaded gasoline. And he came to realize just how contaminated every single thing was. But I can't remember that scientist's name. But
I can't either.
That was a very interesting.
It was in the 50s, wasn't it?
Or 50s or 60s.
Right.
Sometime around there. But
yeah, all of humanity collectively lost like 2 IQ points or something like that.
Yeah. Good job, us. What else has been going on?
Not a whole lot. I mean,
not a ton. Yeah.
We haven't been doing much. I mean, we're still working our same jobs.
Yeah. I'm just trying to. I don't know. We're warmed up, but that also means that there's like things that we have talked about already that we haven't, like, because we've already been hanging out for 3 hours before this.
I mean, we weren't really talking about anything topical. We were talking about killing goblins.
Yes. But yeah, just trying to think.
What else is happening?
I haven't been. BattleBots has been going.
BattleBots has been going
on, which I know last time it was seasonal. I would talk about it on occasion. It's a really good season so far.
Cool.
They have a new rule in effect. They have a couple of new rules, but one of the new rules that they have, I think, is really good for preventing like controversies when like matches have to go to the judges. The losing team can appeal their loss and ask the judges to like review the footage and stuff, because previously they would just make rulings based on what they had personally seen in the match.
Yeah.
But they don't have like all the camera angles that they would, that will eventually be on the TV show.
Right.
They don't have access to all of those at the same time. And so if a team appeals the loss, they can have the judges like look through all the different camera angles and reconsider. And the first time in the season, because we're 8 episodes in, I think, for the first time in the season, a team appealed their loss and actually got the decision reversed.
Nice.
And it was bizarre that it happened in the first place, because they straight up knocked the other team's weapon off of the robot. Like a big spinning horizontal disc that got straight up ripped off the robot and thrown across the arena. And their loss was based on their weapon, the judges having not seen evidence that their weapon was still working, despite the fact that it was attached to their robot.
Right.
Like they didn't see it spinning at all. And so they're even then, even if it wasn't spinning, it still seemed like that team should have won anyway. Mm-hmm. Like it seemed to me that they had been, more aggressive and more in control of the match. But the judges agreed when they rewatched the stuff. So I thought that was kind of a neat little thing. But yeah, it's been a fun season so far. Nice. Kind of sad that I haven't seen an appearance from the people's champion, Rusty. The most adorable and also kind of useless robot. Just a very cute robot that
gets his ass kicked every time.
Yeah, he was put together with just random stuff that the guy's parents had laying around their farm, and he just put him together, submitted it, kind of just for fun. And for whatever reason, the makers of the show are like, yeah, sure, why not? It's the cheapest robot anyone's ever, submitted to the reboot of the series, because since the series got rebooted in 2016, might have been before that when it was on ABC. I can't remember, but like it's been a continuous run. But they changed networks after a couple of seasons. That might have been my computer.
It was Discord. Somebody on the Discord.
Oh, well, it would have been the same noise, but
yeah.
I could, because it was on your phone next to the microphone. It also was right in my ears, so I couldn't tell the origin of the sound.
Right. So Maximus, he's been staying when he stays with me. He's been wanting to watch a TV show that his friends have all watched. It's been around for quite a while, and he's never watched. And he says, "Dad, can we watch this?" I'm like, "You're almost 12. I think we can watch Walking Dead."
Oh, okay. You've mentioned that.
Yeah. He hadn't seen it, and we saw it till the end of season 2 today, and wow. Yeah.
The end of season 2, season 2 in general, I don't care for.
Not a lot happens.
But there's I don't know if I've said this on the podcast before or if it's just something we've talked about. But there's like 5 good episodes in season 2 of The Walking Dead.
Yeah, the last episode is wow.
The first couple are decent.
The last couple.
The middle 2 episodes around the mid-season finale are pretty good, where they have that confrontation at the bar.
Yeah. Right.
And Rick says, like, I hear Nebraska's nice. Like that's an iconic moment.
Right.
In the show. And then the last 2 episodes are really, really good.
But where we finally see Sophia?
Yes. She's in the barn.
She's right.
And then Rick and Shane have their confrontation at the end of the second to last episode. And then the herd arriving on the farm and everything kind of. There is one moment though that became kind of infamous, which is Herschel's infinite ammo shotgun.
Yeah, that's what Max was saying. How many? Yeah, those things have like 6
I got
or 7
50
rounds.
more rounds in this goddamn 5-round magazine.
Where are these shotgun shells coming from?
Yeah, just like never having to reload. That became a bit of a meme. And for while the show was running for a long time, I don't know if they stopped doing it after a certain amount of time when there were some allegations about Chris Hardwick that I think those have been shot down. But in any case, there was like a talkback show,
The Talking Dead,
for a very long time, and that even got brought up. On The Talking Dead, Herschel's infinite ammo shotgun got brought up.
Right.
But that finale of season 2, I remember was really, because that was the first season that I watched while it aired.
Gotcha.
The season 1 I was aware of, and then before season 2 premiered, I was like, I'm going to watch this show, and that's the only show that. Well, I guess it's not the only show. I found some ways to watch it on the internet.
Yes. I have a good friend of mine that used to loan me TV shows on the internet. His name something Bay. Yeah.
Yeah. But it wasn't through that because I was 14 at the time.
Right.
I wouldn't have known. I mean, I could have figured it out probably, but I still don't know actually how to do any of that stuff. But
it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah. But in any case, I'd watched it, and then I got my family into watching it as well. And that was And basically until whenever it was on, that's what we would watch on Sunday nights until I went to college or whatever. And that was also when like Game of Thrones started getting into its real heyday. I don't know if they shared time slots or not. I can't remember, but
yeah, one was on HBO, one on AMC.
Yeah,
and I did tell Maximus. I said, one thing you got to know about this show is that each and every one of these main characters, I want them to be deeply in your heart because they're important and they will be to the end of the show.
Get really attached to Glenn.
Yes, attached to Glenn because he does not die the most gruesome death ever on TV.
I did watch. There is one character who I would actually argue has a slightly more gruesome death.
Yeah. On the same show, or
I can't remember the character's name, and I don't remember the actor's name in specific. But he was the guy who was on the show Everybody Hates Chris when he was a kid. I can't remember that character's name, but he's with them for a little bit, and he dies pretty horrifically.
Not T-Dog, right?
No, not T-Dog.
No.
He dies in like season. This character dies in like season 5 sometime.
We're actually well past the that I've ever seen.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I haven't seen the whole.
Okay.
We are now. Max and I are at the same place.
Yeah. There is a character who dies actually in front of Glenn, in a pretty horrific manner.
Killed by the same person?
No.
Okay.
Different situation. And a couple seasons
later.
Beforehand.
Oh, beforehand.
Yeah. A couple seasons before Glenn dies.
Okay.
Which that's
Wait,
not
Glenn dies?
Yeah. Oh no.
Yeah, we can't do.
That's not a spoiler at this point.
No, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. Especially if you count the same moment in the comics as something people knew was kind of coming. I watched a video earlier today actually about why like that's one of the first big dips that The Walking Dead had in viewership, because like peak viewership for The Walking Dead was pretty significant for a modern TV show. It was like 10 million people.
Nice.
And I don't know if that was around this event, but like after Glenn dies, there was actually a really big drop in viewership because people were so attached to Steven Yeun as Glenn because he's incredibly likable.
Yeah.
Because it's just Steven Yeun. Like he's a very compelling actor and seems to play very likable characters.
Right. And I in my mind, as soon as cut, he's like, "Where's my fucking Diet Coke?"
If he's like that,
bitch, don't look at me.
I did find it interesting to find out that in Korean cinema, Steven Yeun has a reputation, kind of like how the difference between Mads Mikkelsen in Danish movies and Mads Mikkelsen in American movies. It's the inverse for Steven Yeun, where in American movies, Steven Yeun tends to play very affable, very likable characters.
Right.
And in South Korean movies, he tends to be viewed as a bit of a bad boy because, he's American. And so he's like, he tends to play kind of more sort of bad boy type characters, apparently. I had a cough drop that I kind of half swallowed. It's sort of sitting there at the top of my throat.
Yeah, wash that sucker down. There you go.
But it just kind of fell back there and just was stuck in a place where I couldn't really swallow to get it to go down.
Yeah,
it's bad. It's still kind of there.
Right. Well, it probably left its imprint.
It's a little pocket.
It's nature's pocket.
No. But yeah, I thought that was interesting to find out about Steven Yeun. But yeah, like The Walking Dead is just like when I was watching that video, thinking about like what for most of its run there were, or at least most of the height of its run, it kind of had its main competition was like Game of Thrones,
right?
Which to me is weird when you consider like at their best the difference in quality between the two shows. Like at its best, The Walking Dead is a really good show, but it hits those peaks so much less frequently than a show like Game of Thrones did when it was at the height of its powers.
Yeah.
And both of them, it's kind of weird because like The Walking Dead saw a decline in quality of the writing and in viewership, where it's kind of weird that Game of Thrones saw a decline in the quality of writing, but continued to increase in viewership until the end. Like until the last season where people got a lot of people got like a couple episodes in and went, all right, I'm kind of done with this.
Right. I still haven't seen the final episode.
It's not worth your time.
Right.
It's not worth it. You know what happens.
I know what happens.
So you don't need to watch it.
Right.
There's nothing visually that occurs during that last episode that makes it worth it.
Right.
So yeah, it's just, that, and I don't know which is because I never finished The Walking Dead, so I don't know.
Really?
I don't know if its ending is more or less.
The show is ended though, right?
Yeah, it is over with. And it's kind of fun because like Andrew Lincoln playing Rick Grimes leaves the show partway through season 8, and I think 10 is the last one. Right, which is it's weird to continue a show without the main character, and it's like, people are very attached to Norman Reedus as Daryl, right, and to like Carol and whatnot, like and at that point they were the only like 2 original cast members left from the first season, but like people were very attached to those, but it's not Andrew Lincoln as Rick, like was always kind of the heart of the show, along with Carl, who had already been gone from the show for a season. Right. Because, I mean, the actor was at that point 19 or something like that, and had been doing the same thing since he was 8. So it's like I would kind of like to go to school, go to college and have a chance to be a normal person for a bit.
Don't tell me what happens to Carl.
I won't, but
I assume in the show he goes off to college.
Yeah, Carl goes off to college to have some wild times. Right. It's Apocalypse College though. Right.
Formerly known as BYU. It was.
Yes.
Yeah. He's there in Utah.
But it's
I don't know why.
I don't know why either.
Yeah.
Why that is the Apocalypse College.
I don't know.
Why is BYU the Apocalypse College?
Most of the buildings still standing. It's out in the middle of the desert, so
I suppose.
Yeah.
Something I found out, by the way, about Salt Lake City, is that the titular Salt Lake has like a shitload of like arsenic in its bed. Like the lake bed has a bunch of arsenic, and as it's drying up, there's like all kinds of like heavy metals and poison that are getting like whipped up by the winds, and that's a big fucking problem.
Right.
I can't remember what I was watching that mentioned. It might have been a Tom Scott video, actually.
That sounds like a Tom Scott video.
It may have been. I think he was talking about a different toxic lake that was not drying up, but was in fact becoming more full. Actually, I don't think it was a lake. I think it was a quarry. There's a quarry in Montana. There's a quarry in Montana that they're not allowed to allow birds to land in. Or like birds that want to go and land in the water, and they have like all kinds of these different warning systems that make noises to keep the birds. But if the birds do get down there, they actually have guns that are not for shooting the birds, but for just shooting near the birds to scare them away.
You know, I've heard the same story, but when I heard it, it was a cafe in Topeka where the birds were not allowed to land because they're poisonous.
I don't get that.
Because we went from lake in Utah to quarry in Montana, and then we're jumping to cafe in Topeka, and then it might not have been that. It might actually have been a B&B in Kentucky.
Or it could have been a train station in New York.
Right.
Or maybe it was a farmhouse in Florida.
It could have been. Farmhouse in Florida. Or a brothel in Saskatchewan.
Yes, those famous Saskatchewan brothels.
Yeah.
Is there any place in Canada where they have legal prostitution?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Like Reno.
Or Las Vegas.
or what have you.
Yeah.
I ask because it's closer. Drive up to Brandon.
Yeah.
And get myself a whore for the evening.
I told you I've been getting a lot of things on Snapchat from obvious scammers.
Yeah.
Claiming to try to sell me sex.
Okay.
Have you ever had these things? Well, you probably don't have Snapchat.
Yeah, I don't use Snapchat.
They'll be this number. Hi, I want to be your friend. And say, oh, okay, you can be my friend. Hey, where are you? And then you say, what state you're in, and they say, cool, me too. What city? And they'll say, cool, I'm in a city that's at a drivable distance from the city that you're living in. And obviously they had to pause and look at Google Maps to figure out, hey, you want to hook up or whatever. And eventually, I know you're a phony. Ha ha ha. And then, but there was one recently where I'm in North Dakota. Cool, me too. And what the hell was the Oh yeah, no. What the hell was the town she said she was in? Because I said I'm in Williston, North Dakota, and she said, "Cool, I'm in something in Montana." It was clearly in Montana. It was like Big Sky. I'm in Big Sky, North Dakota.
Okay, yeah.
Like, really?
Just looked up a city near Williston,
right?
After having already said also from North Dakota.
They're fun.
Maybe they meant that they were from North Dakota originally, but they had moved to Big Sky, Montana.
Maybe.
Yeah. On basically every social media that I have, I do not accept any messages from someone I do not know.
Right.
Like every once in a while on my Instagram, I will have to scroll through and be like, because a lot of it just ends up getting hidden or spam filtered or whatever.
Right.
But it's like, I've got direct message invitations from 5 people. I'll just bulk delete.
Hey, I got a great way for you to make money right now. It's worked for me. It can work for you. DM
Would you
me.
like to be your own boss?
Yeah.
I'm my own boss, and all I have to do is move these numbers from one spreadsheet to another. There's a great Brian David Gilbert video that turns into, it starts as a funny little parody and turns into a horror short pretty quickly, and it's a fun little twist for a short video. But I watched I didn't realize he had a YouTube video. There was a short video that Robert Reich made,
really,
about him talking about why people, the whole thing of people saying nobody wants to work anymore, and him being like, well, the people aren't getting paid enough, and the different things. And also it's kind of funny because I am aware he's very short, but it was even in the video where it was just him on a white background, I was just like, that man's 4'11".
Is that his height in real life?
I think he might be 5 foot even, but he is incredibly short.
Well, how tall is Sam?
Sam, I think, is 5'6". Really? His son, Sam. But compared to everyone else that works for Sam at College Humor, he is quite short.
Or Sam, Dropout, yeah.
Yeah, Sam standing next to Grant O'Brien.
It's hilarious.
Incredibly funny.
Also, you feel kind of worried for Sam.
Yeah. Robert Reich. How tall? Yeah, he's 4'11".
He is 4'11".
He's 4'11", and he's that. I don't know when that information was gathered, because he may be shorter than that because he's an old man.
Right. That's what happens to us.
You get small.
I'm an inch shorter.
But that's because you got fucked up back.
Right, as I flatten my discs. Oh, yeah. I'm walking with a cane now. I have to go get all sorts of medical stuff to me.
Yeah. They're going to poke you with all kinds of things.
Yeah.
They're going to stick you. Stick. They're going to stick you with a little thing.
They're going to stick me in an MRE, and then they're going to, the next day, they'll get an MRI. But they're going to tell me the results the next day.
They're going to stick you in an MRE, and then they're going to make instant mac and cheese or something.
Right. I'm gonna have that done on Tuesday, and then I'm gonna start physical therapy because I'm almost to the point where sometimes I can't use my right leg.
Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah, I like standing and walking. And
do you really like standing?
Yeah.
I don't.
You like standing?
I don't like standing.
I like having the ability to stand.
Okay, that's different.
Yeah, but if I'm in the shower,
Yeah,
I wouldn't have the ability to stand.
It would be bad. Have you ever sat in the shower though?
I have.
There's something about it that's kind of like, you know what, this is okay.
This is not bad, right?
I like that. It's fine.
I've been taking hot baths lately anyway.
I mean,
I got some Mr. Bubble.
I hate.
Yeah.
I mean, true North Dakotan right there with your Mr. Bubble though.
Yeah.
Invented by the father of one of our former governors.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But in any case, I hate, because I love baths. I have never lived in a place that has had a bathtub
that could accommodate you
large enough for my adult body.
Right. I'm even the same way, and I'm average height.
Yeah, you're a good like 4 inches shorter than me, I think.
Yeah, I'm 5'9".
Okay, not quite 4 inches.
Yeah,
three on a good day for me.
Sure.
But like, it definitely. I've never lived in a place that that has had a bathtub large enough for me. I feel like, was it Taft? That's the thing that people always say about Howard Taft.
He had a special bathtub
because
installed.
he was so insanely obese for a man. I mean, for a man in the 1800s. When the fuck was Taft president?
Taft was
it the late 1800s?
No, it was the early 1900s.
Early 19. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's the one who came after Roosevelt.
Okay,
he was
because like. He was quite heavy for a man of his time. Yeah. Not impressive today. Like, I love seeing old timey pictures of like the fattest man in the world in 1867, and he's like, "Oh, I've seen 5 people like that today." Yeah. But
by the way, it was Sydney's where she said she lived.
Sydney, okay.
Sydney, North Dakota.
Classic Sydney, North. There probably is a Sydney, North Dakota. I don't know where it is, but there probably is.
I looked at a
tiny little town.
There's something labeled as Sydney, North Dakota, but it's in the middle of a wildlife preserve, and there doesn't seem to be buildings.
There probably once was something there that is registered somewhere somehow, and it was enough to get put there.
Or it's just a dude who lives on the wildlife reservation. His name is Sydney.
They just put, he's probably here.
Yeah, he's likely. Yeah.
He's somewhere in this area. Be on the lookout. If you head to this wildlife preserve,
right,
keep an eye out for Sydney.
I know you might think
he's going to come at you.
Bears and buffalo and things like that are, they're troublesome, but fucking A, dude. I mean, Sydney.
The most dangerous game. Sydney. I mean, it's man in general, but in specific, Sydney.
Right.
So shall we talk about the
Let's
album?
do.
Okay, so a little primer on Heilung. Heilung is a experimental folk music band with members from Denmark, Norway, and Germany. So again, Northern Europe is fair enough to say. I guess how northern it is depends on the part of. There are parts of Germany that you could call Northern Europe.
Sure.
But mostly you consider Western or Central. But in any case, their style of music, self-described, they call it amplified history. Experimental folk is I think a better general term for it.
Right.
They kind of they are making like modern sort of industrial like kind of industrial dance music, you could almost call it, but with amplified traditional instruments. Right. Bone like bone drumsticks on on leather drums, lots of traditional European woodwinds and
throat singing in there.
There's throat singing. There's a traditional like clean singing techniques. Like Maria in particular uses a sort of singing technique that is technically its origin is as a goat call. Right. For calling, like if you are a goat or a sheep herder. I think it's specifically for goats, but there is a technique she uses on occasion that has its origin in that. Like, it is a lot of traditional elements of various different like ancient European cultures, right? But then put through modern equipment. Everything's of course mic'd up. There are things that are synthesized sounds. They, if you see them perform, there's a keyboard on stage somewhere,
right?
And there are effects pedals and whatnot that are used. But it is interesting that it is, other than like some stuff that is done via keyboard, I think primarily as just a convenience for a live show.
Sure.
The origin of all of these sounds is these traditional instruments. And the subject matter of the songs is all, various different elements of European Germanic culture. I think I don't know if they've done anything particularly Celtic. I think they've expressed like, we talk about, Germanic mythology and stuff because that's where we're all from.
Right. I mean, there were technically Celtic tribes in Germany.
Yes. At certain points there were.
Yeah.
The earlier you go, the more you have before the migration era, when the Germanic tribes began to move all throughout Europe. Mm-hmm. But lots of different Iron Age sort of elements. And it's Heilung, by the way, is just the German word for healing. Mm-hmm. Sort of brought up at least one of the members of the band. I think Kai Faust is a like practicing like a pagan? heathen, like a neo-pagan. I don't know if Christopher and Maria are, but they've definitely sort of brought those elements into their music. And it's music that is both deeply primal and at times kind of frightening and unsettling.
Right.
And
in the good ways.
Yeah. In ways that makes it very compelling to listen to.
Right.
And at other times, like very deeply comforting is not the right
beautiful
term. Yeah, beautiful and serene. Mm-hmm. I think is the term I was reaching for, is
serene,
a very serene sort of element to it on occasion. And there's like storytelling that's done, like their last couple albums. The album previous to this had a similar couple of songs that is mostly like spoken storytelling with a ton of like
effects in the background,
effects and sound samples, like telling the story of some sort of a battle. And it's a shame because I understand none of it.
Yeah, that, like the song Keltentrauer is the one on this.
Yes,
that's just a spoken story.
And I understand. I haven't looked up a translation for it. I should, but I haven't looked up a translation of it because I understand absolutely none of it, because I believe that's all spoken in German. Mm-hmm. It sounds like German.
Yeah, it does.
And I assume because Kai is the German member of the band. Mm-hmm. I think Maria is Norwegian and I think Christopher is Danish, but Kai is also the one who does most of the throat singing, and he's the primary male vocalist in general. But if that's his like narration, the dude, like in addition to seriously impressive like singing capabilities, he's also, I mean, it's in German, so maybe there's something that's kind of lost on me.
Right.
But he sounds like a very compelling storyteller just from a vocal perspective. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like, there's so much emotion put into it. But again, don't understand what's being said. Right.
I had that issue with my youngest child today. He's like, today and yesterday. He's like, I don't understand a word they're saying. What are they saying? Like, this is like Proto-Germanic is what I've heard it said, and I don't understand what they're saying at all either.
I think it depends on the song. I think most of the time the lyrics are in modern languages. I think most of the time anyway that they are. There probably have been songs that have maybe had bits and pieces that were in older languages. I guess if you wanted to have it be in Old Norse, but you didn't want to do a ton of work, you could just have it be in Icelandic.
Sure.
Because they're pretty close. But as I understand, most of their lyrics are usually in German or Norwegian. Maybe Danish. I don't know. People always make fun of Danish as a language because it apparently sounds funny to other
to Swedes and Norwegians.
Yeah, Nordic speakers.
Right.
It apparently sounds funny.
Right. They can kind of understand it, but there's like
They're like Swedish and Norwegian are pretty mutually intelligible, but both of them are just like, we don't fucking understand Danish. A bunch of weird shit happened sometime in the 1700s for some reason. There's a really great skit that I remember seeing about how even Danes can't actually understand each other.
Yeah.
And they all just kind of pretend that they do. But I've heard it said it sounds like Swedish, but with a mouthful of marbles.
Right.
But that's just me relating things that I've heard
Other people say. Right.
Heard other people say. So I didn't do a ton of research about this because also we were busy earlier today, which I listened to it all the way through before we started D&D, but I didn't have the time write anything down because also the thing that I write my stuff down is the thing that I also use for
D&D. Right. Yeah.
So I don't have anything prepared as far as like how well received this album was. I did read some reviews earlier in the week before we had a couple of delays.
Yeah.
And it seemed like people in general were pretty happy with this.
Yeah.
As it came out, which I think is appropriate enough because I think this is a really good, really great album. I'm still waiting for. It was announced. A while ago that they are doing the soundtrack for the next Hellblade game.
Right. A long time ago.
Yeah, it was announced in like 2020
or 2019.
Yeah, it was announced at the Game Awards 2019, which may have occurred in 2020. It was December of 2019. But it was announced a while ago, and it was announced that they were doing the music.
Right.
I haven't played the first Hellblade, which I've been meaning to for years at this point because I've heard it's a very good single player experience. But sort of that kind of got me on board of like, oh, the Heilung's doing the soundtrack. Okay, that's cool.
Oh, I really want to play it.
But that was so long ago that I keep on forgetting that it's still coming out at some point. Like there's been a couple of games like that where like, is that still being worked on? Is that still coming out? I've been watching like Mass Effect stuff recently, wanting to replay that series. And I had totally forgotten that, again, a couple years ago, BioWare announced that they're making another one that is apparently going to have characters from the original trilogy, unlike the spinoff, which didn't, the spinoff no one liked.
Right.
Well, that was a couple years ago, and there's been like no news about it since then. So I don't know if it's still happening, but
yeah, because that trailer for Hellblade 2, used the first track off of Lifa.
Yes,
and it was a fantastic trailer.
It was a really, really good trailer.
Yeah.
So does this album slap?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Yes.
It gets you. It'll get you moving if you're the type to move to the music a little bit. It will get you moving. What's your favorite song?
My favorite song. I couldn't decide on that right away. And well, first of all, couldn't remember the names of the songs because they're in a language I don't speak.
Yes.
But after some suggestions from my 11-year-old, he's like, Anawana is the best song on that.
That's the second one.
That's the second song. Yeah. And I really like her voice, and that is so beautiful.
Yes. Well, Maria is just an incredible, like her range is fucking bananas. The amount of shit that she can pull off. And as evidenced by, their first, before they, I guess it wasn't. I think they had a recorded album before them, but their Leifa was a recording of their first ever live performance,
right?
And she sounds perfect in that, and so it's like she's got this incredible range that she can pull off. She can hit some seriously high notes to a degree that it may have been Anawana, where there were some things where it was like, is that still Maria? Or is that something else? Is that some sort of ancient woodwind that sounds vaguely like a very high human voice? Like she can hit some seriously high notes.
Yes, she can.
She is a very, very, very good singer. I didn't really make a super concerted effort to make a note of what my favorite song was. I would need to give it another listen through to truly be able to tell you. Because I don't know if there was anything that really, really stood out to me in a way that was like, oh, this one's definitely my favorite.
Right.
Because it's all kind of on a level of like, this is all really good.
It all feels like one piece a lot.
Yeah. I will say, pretty fond of the first track.
Yeah. Opening track is great.
I enjoy it quite a bit. Although it kind of takes me a second to sort of like, it's like dipping your toes into like dipping your foot into cold water a little bit, and they did this on their album previous to this as well, where they do a thing that is, it's a little uncomfortable to listen to at first, where it's the three of them, or maybe just the two of them, like chanting and saying something, and it's Kai doing it in a very rough sort of voice, but them like all speaking in unison, and you can hear the breaths in between as well. And there's
nothing else there. It's just the three.
It's just their voices, and it's like, it's kind of disconcerting and kind of like, because also, as someone who listens to a lot of music, you don't tend to hear people breathing, right? Like, and if it's something that would be audible, it's something that most engineers cut out. So it's especially when you have Pro Tools and stuff like that, where it's super easy and simple to cut that. Out, but
the breathing in this actually added to the rhythm. It was a part of the rhythm itself.
Yes. But it's a sort of thing that you're not used to hearing when you listen to music, and just that added into sort of the otherworldliness and the roughness of it as well was just like makes you makes me anyway, a little uncomfortable at first before I'm like, okay, but this is what they do. Right. And like once it starts, there's an instrument that gets played there where it's a stringed instrument. I think I've seen it played before. I can't actually remember what it's called. But it's like a traditional Norwegian folk instrument, I think, that has like 3 strings that you play with a bow. Right. And it doesn't have a fretboard, unlike like a violin or something like that. You like touch the strings. You don't press them a fretboard. You like just put your finger on the string. I can't remember what it's called though, but it's I really like the sound of it. And I've seen like promotional images of Maria playing it, so I assume that's what's being played, because it's an instrument I've heard before. Right. But I just can't remember the name of it.
Yeah. And earlier when you were listening to this, I said, "Hey, check it out, dude. My son this is what the band looks like on stage." And he looked. He's like, I don't know what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, their costumes are so amazing.
Yeah, incredible.
It's like they put so much work into their presentation that it's just I would love to go see them live.
That'll be a great show.
I think it would be a fantastic thing to go and see. They seem incredibly impressive on so many different levels. And I think it would be a really cool experience. What medal are you bestowing upon this album, like Maz Kanata to Chewbacca?
It is interesting enough to give a gold.
Yeah. I agree. I think this deserves a gold as well. I liked this quite a lot.
I did as well.
So this coming Wednesday here, in a couple of days. What do you want to talk about?
Well, it's because we're doing kind of non-metal March. Yeah, but I want to pick an album by a band that is kind of metal adjacent, if not metal overlapping.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And an album by them that I would think wouldn't be the album I would want to introduce you to them with, because this is a very mellow and very introspective album by Alice in Chains.
Okay.
Jar of Flies.
Jar of Flies.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you would appreciate it.
All right.
I'd like to see what you think.
of Flies by Alice in Chains. Next time on the Bronze Metalist Podcast. All right. Well, until then, why don't you out there, the listener, go ahead and follow or subscribe to our feed on whatever it is you're using to listen to us. And
probably a phone.
Yes. I mean to say
whatever platform.
The Apple Podcast app, or perhaps Libsyn's The podcast source. I've run out of podcast juice.
AKA vodka.
Yes. Just been this big 64 ounce.
Yeah.
It's full of vodka.
Wow. You've almost polished that off.
Yeah. I think I refilled it at one point. But in any case, go ahead, subscribe to our feed and follow us on social media if you want to. We're on Facebook and Twitter. Just look for Bronze Medalist Podcast. And there you go.
Glad to have you along.
Until you hear from us again, thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Medalist Podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations.